Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Give it 5 thumbs up. Yep. So here's what I'm doing here. It became just way too difficult to film and work at the same time, so I had to stop. But I had this great thought of putting the loft up in the top of this chicken coop and using these kind of offcuts right here, these kind of odd pieces with the live edge on them like this. And it seemed like a great idea, but there's some massive gaps in this, and it's just really not going to work. I don't feel good about this. So I'm going to take all of this off. I still want a loft up here, but I'm going to use some boards that I had cut already, and that's going to make life a whole lot easier. I was going for the rustic look up here in this loft, but it's just a little bit too rustic, I think. I hit it every now and then. So this is going to be a whole lot better than those wonky pieces that I had up here in the first place. A whole lot safer because there's not a bunch of huge gaps, and it's still looking a little bit rustic over here in places like this. And this is going to do a couple of things for me. It's going to give me a good platform to build my trusses, a relatively level platform to, or relatively even platform rather, to build my trusses. And it's going to give me a little loft up here for storage, and I'll be able to put like a ladder or some such thing, I guess, over here somewhere and have access to that. Probably in hindsight I should have just gone all the way to the end right here and then had a little, not a trap door, but just a hole right here that I could get up in with a ladder. That would have probably been the better thing to do, but here we are. What I'll have to do here is notch out for my trusses that I'm going to put in here. I'll just have to notch out a few inches right here, 2 by whatever it's going to be on the length here to account for that angle of the truss. And my original plan was just to leave a big gap right here, which would have been quite a big gap for to allow for those trusses, but I figured it'd look a whole lot cleaner if I did it this way. So that's kind of the next step, is to get trusses up here, which I think will be an excellent job for tomorrow. All right, so it's the next day, and I'm sure some of y'all are furiously typing comments right now, but as I laid down, I think it was as I laid down last night, sometime yesterday, it occurred to me that what I'm doing is just not gonna work. Here's what I'm talking about. So my thought was just to cut this out, cut a notch out right here so that the trusses could go in right there, but that's obviously not gonna work because the trusses are gonna be in at an angle, roughly like this. And look at all the overlap there. That can't be sticking out because that's gonna get in the way of the roof right there. So the only thing I know to do is go back with my original plan, which would be at this point taking off that board and those two boards over there. On top of that, I've got this joist right here, floor joist or whatever you want to call it, right here, right on the edge, and I'm pretty sure that's where the truss needs to be. So I'm going to have to move this in a couple of inches, same way with the one on the other side. Yeah. I didn't film all of that because it was just going to be super boring, but I've moved this joist in some this way, and you see I've got a space now to put my truss. So I think I'll be okay here with this top portion. Now, how do I make a truss? So here's what I've done here. I'm sure there's some kind of a trick to find where this bird's mouth is supposed to go, but what I have done here is I've just set this up and I've done some pretty crude measurements here, such as taking my speed square and making sure that my angle was just right here, because this is just a 45-degree truss. So I made sure that that angle is right there, and then I just made a little mark right there where the bird mouth should go. And to make double sure, I actually started off, well, the first measurement I got right was the measurement from right here to down here, and then right here to down here. I got those as even as I could, and to me that meant the whole thing was probably pretty close to in the right place. And of course I also did the angle on this side as well, just to make sure, and I've got a little mark down there. I'm sure there's a much better way to do it, but I've got a jig down here right now, and I'll just make my measurements off of this, and then I'll be able to do the rest of them probably a whole lot faster.
The bird's mouth is made out of two cuts, the seat and the heel. The seat cut sits on top of your double top plate, and the heel is the end. To start, you need to know how steep your roof is going to be.
That should give us plenty of lathing. These are about 1. I don't even have a measuring tape with me, but I think they're about 1 by 4. So that should give us plenty of lathing between these right here and those that are already on the tractor. Probably way more than enough, actually. Now all I need is some tin. My dad has generously donated some old used roofing tin that he's got for this project, which is great because that's going to save me somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 on this chicken house. But before I go get that, I just kind of want to do a recap of everything that went down on these trusses here. So overall, I'm really pleased at how these things came together. This was my first time building trusses like this, and on these ends here, I'm going to obviously have to put a little more material right in here to account for the siding that'll have to be mounted to it up here. So we will do that. That's something I'll have to do before I put the siding on. And I did make quite a few mistakes on this. If you look right here, all of these are relatively even except the third one. So you've got 1, 2, 3. You see that third one is probably about 1 3/8 inches up that way a little bit. And the reason for that is I measured from the wrong spot on the bird's mouth. I was supposed to measure from right here to get that cut, but I measured from right here on that one to get that cut. So it is pretty ugly, but you know, I wasn't willing to rebuild the whole truss. This one right here is the very first truss that I built, and I filmed myself putting it up in place. And once I got it up in place, that's probably where I'm going to edit and make it kind of cut to me doing something else, because you can see it turned out to be a total disaster. And y'all probably saw that coming, or some of y'all probably saw that coming, because how I measured this is I just put the truss without the bird mouth up onto this top plate and then marked out a spot where it was supposed to go, and then I cut from that spot. Well, of course, that makes no allowance for to have enough space for this. I hope y'all know what I'm talking about here. That makes no allowance for the bird's mouth to actually go onto this. It ends up being totally wrong. So what I had to do, this was the original bird's mouth, what I had to do was go up this width right here and cut a new one. So I patented the double bird's mouth right here, I guess. So what I did was, instead of making it the end truss or the king truss or whatever you call it, I just kind of hit it in the middle, so so it wouldn't be so obvious. I didn't want to rebuild the whole truss just for that. Probably kind of tough to tell from here, but they all turned out pretty straight as well. I'll be able to take the lathing and make sure they're all relatively square up there. They're all pretty straight except for this end one. It's leaning out just a little bit, I think, but those big lag screws that I put up in there to hold it down, those those straightened them out quite a bit. Here's a view of the loft right here. I'm very happy with the way that this loft turned out. There's lots and lots of space up here that I would not have had, and of course I also had a place to work while I was putting up these trusses. So I'm super happy with the way that this turned out. And these boards are very thick too. These are almost 1.5 inches right here, so it's super stable up here too. This space up here is pretty cramped, so I had to put it on fisheye or super view to kind of get everything in the shot. But if y'all can see these trusses here, they are very straight, and I'm very happy with the way that these turned out. They're nice and even. I mean, they're not absolutely perfect, but for what it is, they're really close. I'm very happy with the way that these turned out. It's going to look great with some lathing and some tin up here as well. I'm very excited to get this place dry. They're pretty stable too. Those big lag screws that I put in really did the job. Once I put some lathing on it and tin, it'll be rock solid. Also had a couple of people mention in the comments that I needed to tie these walls together, and that's actually what I ended up doing. The top plate, or the double top plate, the top one that was already there, I actually just took it and I cut the ends off of it. Would have been that side over there, and I did this right here. So these walls are not 2 or 4 independent kind of standing structures. They're all tied together by not only this, but by these rafters up here as well, floor joists rather, as well. So this place is pretty well hooked together. I'm pretty happy with it. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to run and get the tin for the roof, and that's really going to be our next step. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you on the next one.